Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. It's getting hot today. A good weather seems to be passing, but please pray that it gets cooler in my area. It doesn't get as hot as they're forecasting it to be. Hang on, somebody sent in something about a prayer. Okay, we got a prayer request for MS Mike Sam. MS Mike Sam needs a place to live. For MS Mike Sam needs a place to live. Okay. So today is the 9th of July. It's a Tuesday. And sadly, it's 85 degrees already. And they're forecasting 96. Tomorrow 98, then 98 on Thursday, 98 on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we drop back to 90 to 92, which is easy for us to handle in Israel. 90 to 92 is not very hard for us. So please pray that it gets cooler in my immediate area, and I'm still trying to get with the guy on the solar, so maybe you could pray that happens, that I could sit down with them and get a real good idea of what the solar is into, what it's about, and how it would set up and how it would work and all of that. We're still in the dark. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go into the chat and make sure we got sound and picture, and then put a couple of quick posts up there while we're waiting for the chat to populate and people have a chance to come in. And we got sound and picture. I'm going to do a couple of fast posts, and I mean fast, so just sit tight. We got some very substantial news, war intel type stuff that I'll cover in a moment. Okay. So just sit tight. I'm not going to take a long time. I don't like to talk too much while I put the posts up, because then I get typos. Okay, half done. Now I just put my email address up. If you want to send prayer requests in during the broadcast, they're free. You can put them up in the chat, or if you want more privacy, my email address is up at the top of the chat, and you could just email me a prayer request. I check during the broadcast and I'll get it out there. The noises is Chief. He just came in and he was a little hot outside, so I got the AC on here so he's cooling off. Poor little dogs are probably not going to go out again. I'll try to get them out in the afternoon if I can, but it's kind of cruel to put them out in the heat. Yaffa takes the heat okay for a few minutes, but Chief's kind of old and it really takes a toll on him. Okay, not very many people coming in yet, but I'm going to be in a Bible-believing site. I'm going to start by doing some praise, okay? And I have no control over who joins in or who doesn't join in. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So I believe I've got to get my glasses clean. They're all yoked up. It won't take a second. I'll talk to you while I do it. These are the best glasses cleaners I ever saw. You can get them at Amazon. Not a lot of money or anything. I don't know what kind of chemicals they have or whatever, but they work really good. I like to keep my glasses clean. I have a pair of my weak prescription glasses that have that tint that changes with the sunlight. Ah, that's much better. Changes with the sunlight, but they're not polarized and my vision is diminished, so I do better with the polarized. It changes the color contrasts and stuff like that, so I make out better with that. Now I hit a bottle of water. There it is. Oh. So, a couple of days ago, 2 days or so, I told you that an Iranian frigate, a warship, was sunk right near Iran. It was very unusual. Normally, a regular boat doesn't sink. And most of the time, when they hit a rock or a vessel or an iceberg or something, the sinking happens, but slowly. Normally, it takes hours, so they get off, you know. But in this case, a lot of the sailors got killed, and the boat capsized upside down. And that's not really normal for a boat to do that. There was a Costa Cruise Line ship that did that, but it took hours and hours and hours, and everybody got off the boat. They didn't get off. So I'm assuming that this was an Israel attack on the Iranian warship as a warning, and I believe the attack, while it could have come from an F-35, the way it happened, an F-35 probably would have made some small damage and fires, and it would have been put out, and the boat might have been dead in the water or something, but I believe this was a torpedo from Israel's submarines. We have 6 or 8 of them, and they're very good, they're very advanced. We buy them from Germany, and they're diesel subs, and then we upgrade them. So I'm most certain that's what happened. Now, we had another incident during the night in Syria that I would have to connect the 2 incidents together. Now, let me go to my Telegram and give you the breakdown of what happened, because it's rather significant. In passing, there was a mass shooting in Kentucky. I think it's barely over. 4 killed and 3 wounded is the count so far. We don't know exactly what happened yet, but I understand the shooter killed himself. But we don't know whether more than one shooter, you know, we don't know. The NATO leaders are getting together to meet in Washington, and I expect they're going to have conversations with the Biden administration about what they call dementia, senility, and stuff like that. There was an attack in India. 5 Indian soldiers were killed in a Katua ambush. India vows revenge. Now, I don't have the details yet on that. It was a very, very recent event, like breaking news. Biden is saying he's going to run again, and Trump is saying Biden probably is going to run again. So, it's probably a logical assumption if Trump said it that Biden is going to run again, and there are people saying that half the Democrats are opposing this, and the Democratic Party is split, and there could be a civil war. I'm not exactly seeing that as a civil war, but the Democratic Party is pretty split on this. Biden, one of the, I think it was a woman that was the hostage that got saved or released. I don't know which one it was. A woman went to the White House and met with Biden, and Biden vowed to free the hostages. Well, that, I wouldn't say that means nothing to do a public vow, from the president, but it doesn't mean as much as you think. It's meaningful for sure. The hostage ceasefires talks are just about dead. I mean, they're so far apart. Now, this is extremely. I'm working my way back to Iran. I got to find the article, but I'm knocking the other ones off as we go. Poland, Germany, Italy, and Denmark and France. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries signed a security agreement deal with Ukraine. That means they're making like a little mini NATO. This will infuriate Putin, and this opens the door for them to put troops in Ukraine and to actually fight against Russia. This is quite serious, because they're probably not going to be that interested in breaking their agreement with Ukraine. Now, the idea behind this is to get Putin to throw the towel in, and we know that's not going to work. Another move came from Poland that, if there's anything that I would say right now today, looking at things, is going to cause Russia to attack NATO, particularly Poland, this is it. I would give this an extremely high probability of being the trigger to start Russia fighting against NATO. And this is what happened. Poland said, well, for one thing, the lesser thing they said is we're going to give 20 Su-29, I think they are, jets to Ukraine, but the United States has to give us replacements. So I think the United States is barred from giving F-35s or advanced F-16s or something to Ukraine. So what Poland wants to do is get rid of their junky Russian jets and give them to Ukraine and get some good stuff from America. It might work. But the big thing is this. Poland said that they're going to shoot missiles to take down Russian missiles and drones flying into Ukraine. So I'll explain a little further. Russia launches a lot of missiles in Ukraine. They just hit yesterday a children's hospital and killed a lot of kids. Don't worry, you're not going to see the UN do anything about this, nor will you see the Muslim media go up in arms. But it was a horrific thing he did. And there's not going to be any repercussions that I could think of about this. The ICJ may start a proceeding, who knows. So Poland's got anti-aircraft, anti-missile, and anti-drone rockets and missiles inside Poland, and they have a big border with Ukraine. So they're saying they're going to take their anti-missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, anti-drone missiles and place them near the Ukrainian border and do the takedowns for Ukraine when Russia attacks with missiles and drones. And could include aircraft, but I don't know yet. So this is extremely significant. Why? If you put anti-missile rockets and anti-aircraft rockets into Ukraine and give them to Ukraine, well, Putin just attacks them. Like Putin's been attacking the air bases in Ukraine to make it difficult to impossible for Ukraine to deploy the F-16s they have and are going to get out of the Ukraine airstrips. And previously Russia said if any other country, most likely Poland or maybe Romania or something, allows the Ukraine pilots to take off with their F-16s from airstrips, say in Romania or Poland, that Putin will consider those legitimate, valid targets of war and attack those air bases. So what Poland is doing now is they're saying, well, these are just defensive missiles and Russia won't dare attack us being a NATO country, and we'll just keep knocking down Russia's missiles. Now, what this is going to do is enable Ukraine to have at least one air base, if not two, where the F-16s can take off and land while they attack Russian forces in Ukraine and even fly missions inside Russia near the Ukraine border, or maybe not so near the Ukraine border. Some of the advanced F-16s are stealthy. They coat the fuselage with the same material they coat the F-35. I don't think it's as stealthy as an F-35, but it probably makes things difficult for Putin. Putin's anti-aircraft, anti-missile systems, the S-300, the S-400, and the S-500, have all proven to be junk against NATO aircraft, and they're not good. Okay, so Poland is playing a cute move, and the obvious counter move from Putin will minimally be a statement that if this happens, that other countries use missiles to take down his missiles and drones, he will consider them a valid target and attack them. Now, that doesn't mean Putin will do it, but I expect he will. The result of what Poland is doing is going to be enabling Ukraine to secure at least one air base, if not two or three, near Poland, that they could defend from inside Poland and knock down the missiles that Russia launches from within Ukraine or from Russia, or from aircraft flying around Ukraine or in Ukraine. So the closeness of the NATO-Russia war is, at this point, exponentially higher than it was, say, 2 weeks ago. It's really high. Russia has 900,000 troops assembled in Ukraine or right near Ukraine. So this is a massive amount of troops, and they come with armor and missiles and air support and everything else. So things are getting pretty close to exploding in the Ukraine area. So Israel launched airstrikes coming from the direction of the Mediterranean Sea against Syria during the night. One area was Benias, but let's explain more about what really happened here. I'm getting my post up out of Telegram. And then I don't want to miss the details. North African immigrants in France. I put a video of this up on my on my Telegram there. It's burning the French flag. One of our jets took down a suspicious aerial object, probably a drone, on its way to Israel. Was coming from the south of the country, from the east, I think Iraq or Syria. It did not enter Israel airspace. It got taken down. All right. Syrian sources claim, here we go, air defense systems of Iran militias were attacked in the Arab al-Malik area near Benias coastline. This comes at the same time as the arrival of 2 Iranian ships at the port of Latakia in Syria. All right. Now, Latakia, Syria, the port is where Russia has a port, which is of vital importance to Russia to maintain ships in the Mediterranean Sea in the event of a war with NATO. Next to this base, or maybe 5 kilometers away, something like that, they have an air base where Russia keeps a very small amount of aircraft. I think the most they ever had once was 25, but I think they probably have 6 or something, very small amount. I don't know how many they have right now. It could be more, could be less. I don't know. Okay. So what Israel did was take out the radar near Latakia in Syria. Radar is used to guide missiles. Any kind of missile. Anti-ship missile, anti-aircraft missile, anti-missile. They use radar for this, so that without the radar, they can't launch aerial countermeasures against an attack by air. And this happened right at the same time these 2 Iranian ships showed up. Now, it's not clear if these ships were warships or if they were freighters bringing weapons to Syria. Let's see if we can find out in the news. It may have, this news is a few hours old, it may have leaked out. Let's take a look. Cargo ships. Let's see if we got all, if they're all saying the same thing. Let's look. Let me check. I'm getting in an alternate report here. Let me take a look. No, that's not it. Let me read another post here. Let's see. Okay. Um, they were not warships. They were cargo ships. So what Iran was doing is bringing weapons into Syria for the militias. Now the militias in Syria come from Iraq and Syria, and they had radar, and I guess Iran gave that to them or some other country, and the radar was apparently taken out. So the Iranian ships are basically helpless against a missile attack, a drone attack, or an aircraft attack, or a submarine attack. So Israel gave Iran a warning about 2 days ago, but these ships were probably already on their way. Now, what's going to happen next, I don't know. But what Israel was telling Iran was, hey guys, you know, we sank your warship, and you know, some of your soldiers got killed and injured, and that's just the beginning. We're going to really go to town on your warships if you don't knock it off. So after that happened, you know, Israel made Iran made a statement that, oh, we're going to support Lebanon if there's a full-scale war. All of a sudden they dropped, we're going to send IRG soldiers in there and all of this stuff. They stopped all of that. So they're not saying how they will help Lebanon. The thought is that they would help Lebanon with weapons. And this is now backed up by the 2 Iranian ships in the Syrian port of Latakia, or Latakia, depending how you want to pronounce it. You could say Houthis or Houthis, you know. You say tomato, I say tomato, you know, one of those things, you know. We're dealing with transliterated words from the Arabic. Okay, so what Israel's going to do next, I don't know, but they might sink these Iranian ships to send a signal to Iran to knock off the weapons transfers, or they might try to attack where the weapons are being stored. I'm thinking this thing through here. So if Israel's going to follow through, they're going to attack either these 2 Iranian ships, or they might let those go under grace because they were already en route. But if Iran does it again, they'll probably start sinking the ships. But the warning was they took out the radar, the militias, so the militias can't attack Syria, you know, aerial threats from Israel, planes, missiles, drones, and they can't defend these Navy ships. Now, these Iranian ships probably have just ordinary, regular commercial radar, so they could see ships maybe within 25 or 50 miles of them. You know, nothing that's targeting radar or anything like that. No intelligence gathering, unless Iran is trying to fool everybody. And they have constructed ships that look like regular ships, but they put missile launchers on them, like 50 or 75. So the whole deck is full of missile launchers, but there's no indication of anything like that here. If it was the case, I'm pretty sure we would have heard about it, and it probably would have been attacked. So Iran is continuing to play the proxy game. Oh, we're not attacking Israel, we're just arming our proxies to do it for us. And this is Iran thinking that we'll never get attacked, we'll just keep using proxies. Well, the same thinking in reverse is America and NATO with Ukraine. Oh, we'll never get attacked, we'll just keep using Ukraine as a proxy. Okay? And now, to a lesser extent, Poland. But You can't really say Poland's a proxy. That's stupid. So it's not really the case. All right. Putin is saying, oh, Europe thinks I'm going to go on an imperialistic campaign and keep knocking off countries, and that's not true. Well, yeah, we can always believe what Putin says, right? Where's that going to get us? So I would think that there might be more attacks on Iranian ships. It's a soft target for Israel. Even their warships are a soft target. It's easy to hit. And that might get Iran to cool their jets. Apparently Iran didn't get the message yet. They could have recalled these 2 cargo ships back to Iran. But, see, Iran has a problem. They have to keep the confidence and the faith up with Lebanon. Lebanon probably thinks that Iran, Yemen, and others are going to come to their aid when there's an invasion by Israel. But look at Hamas, nobody came to their aid. Except Lebanon and the Houthis in a limited way. Anti-Semitism is rising. I bought something on eBay yesterday, and then when the guy saw my shipping address Israel, he canceled the order. See, it's not the first time I've seen this. I got all my money back, but the guy was going to use expedited delivery, and it was eBay in the UK, so it would have got here very quick. Such is life. What I was trying to buy was an interesting item. During World War II especially, people couldn't get razor blades for shaving. If the power's out, your electric razor does not much good. So I was thinking of getting a old-fashioned razor called Rolls Razor, like Rolls Royce, but it's Rolls Razor. It has nothing to do with the car company, Rolls Royce. When you use the old barber's razor, they go like that, it has a straight edge. It's rather dangerous to use those things on yourself, especially when you don't have good vision and you can't see that great in the mirror. So, the reason they came out with the safety razor, where you put the single edge or the double edge blades in, is it was rather easy to keep yourself from getting cut. The secret to it is to use hot water and put some sort of soap on there, and then just use little short strokes, like a ½ inch to an inch. And the more modern ones have an adjustment so you can control how much of the blade is exposed. And if you're going to cut yourself with those, it's going to be a nick. It's not going to be, let's go to the ER and get stitches. So people couldn't get, they couldn't get the razor blades easily or at all during World War II. So this razor actually has a permanent blade made out of high carbon steel, which is very easy to get very sharp, built into what looks like a safety razor. And it comes packed in the case with a hone, which is a stone to sharpen it, and a strop, which is a leather strop to put a fine edge on it. You get rid of what's called the rolled edge. I know a lot about sharpening knives. I'm quite adept at it. So, thus you have a permanent razor blade that can keep being sharpened, probably for quite a few years. And you don't have to buy razor blades. So the company stopped making these in the 60s. It was peacetime and people were going to electric razors and stuff like that. So I found one of these they came from the UK. They were made there, so there's a lot of them in the UK. So this guy had one that was new, that was never opened. It was in the box, so I tried to buy it, but he wouldn't send it digital. eBay doesn't care, you know. Could call the Anti-Defamation League, but they probably wouldn't really bother with anything like this. Because the guy could deny it. He could say, oh, there's going to be a war, I don't want the item to be able to list anything. So, these Rolls razors are rather useful if there's no electricity and there's no razor blades around. And then you could shave and trim whatever you want to do with it, you know. Using the straight razor, I mean, this whole fighting system is designed on the straight razor because in years past people were able to carry straight razors with them and it wasn't a suspicious item, but today it is. I mean, if you go back 100 years, 150 years, you know. Today, barbers don't use the real straight razor anymore. They designed another straight razor that has disposable blades you put inside it in a clip. And that's not a straight razor anymore because you still need razor blades, so just get a safety razor. Safety razors give you an incredibly clean shave, and I doubt you could really surpass it with a straight razor unless you were like going to put hot compressed towels on there and all kinds of lotions. And shaving cream doesn't do anything. Shaving soap does, and that's cheap. Comes in a cup. It's a big glob of soap. You get wet and you rub it on. Shaving cream is a gimmick they came out with in the post-World War II era. And there used to be a type of shaving cream that heated up in the can. And when you put it on, it was hot, and that causes the hairs to rise. It makes the shaving somewhat better. But today I understand, you know, in San Francisco there's a lot of people that are men that are meticulous about their appearance. And the barbershops offer a shave, like the old days of Wyatt Earp, you know, where they go into the barbershop for a shave. But back then the barbershop used to keep a wood bathtub or sometimes metal or porcelain. And they were able to go in a private room and have a bath too. And that was finished. They had an attendant that would empty the tub and scrub it clean for the next one and then put boiled water in, hot water. But they would put the guy down and they would take a towel with steaming hot water and put it on the guy's face to get everything, you know, the hairs to stand up. And then they would put shaving soap or lather on and he had a strop. So he'd strop the blade 8 or 10 times. And it's a lot easier when you're shaving another person, and he'd pull the skin taut and take little cuts and get a very, very close shave. And then during the shave, he would stop and strop the blade on the leather strop again, and keep doing it like that. And then after, they would put some sort of an aftershave on. Normally, the aftershaves were using a lot of alcohol, which would sanitize the face and close up any little tiny micro drops of blood coming out or something like that. And then they made them smell good, you know. But if you really want to get something good, you don't get that crap. You get, because it dries your skin out, you get Nivea, or one of those companies that makes a very soothing shaving cream, a gel that you put on after. And it also does some sanitizing and stuff like that. So I used to know a lot about this because I used to be into shaving, and I used to try to get a shave good enough where I wouldn't have to shave for 2 or 3 days, which 3 days I never got there, but 2 days was not hard to achieve. The best razor blades for this come from a company in Japan called Feather. But man, those things are swords. They're so dangerous. I used them a few times and I got cuts. And those things are scary. But there's a million other kinds of shaving blades you can use. There's Wilkinson, which are very good, but very expensive, not worth it. There's Astra, Dovo, Merker. There's a million of them, you know. And you could use them 2 or 3 times. There are people that actually take those blades and sharpen them. Well, they probably use a honing on the leather strap. I've never done it. It probably works, but I never did it. That's another consideration to stretch the life of the blades out, you know. But so I actually did manage to buy another one of these that were, I believe, it may have been used, I don't know. And I wanted to get a second one also in case I need parts or there's something missing or something like that. So I'll have to look for another one. But a very interesting, the guy that made this Rolls razor got about 40 years or so, 45 years out of it. It was really popular. Most people today don't know it exists. So you had the features of a safety, you know, a regular straight razor that a barber used to use, but it was put into a safety razor, so you didn't have to worry about, and going and getting stitches or anything like that. Safety razors aren't going to get you to the point where you need more than a styptic pencil to stop it or something. Well, unless you try to do it, you know. So that was an interesting thing. Anyway, I digress. I thought you might find that interesting. So the electric razors today give you a crappy shave. Over the past, 40 years or so, 50 years, I've used all different kinds of electric shavers, and they stink. Most of them, if I shave early in the morning, by 5 o'clock, I got a shadow. They're not any good. A lot of people that use electric razors, they'll have rechargeable ones, and they'll get up in the morning and they'll have a razor in the house and they'll shave in the morning. And then they'll keep one in the car, and then when they go home from work, 5 o'clock, they'll shave in the car. I don't know if that's illegal. If the cop sees you shaving in the car, they probably give you an $1,100 ticket or something, but back then, nobody cared, You have a mirror in the car, and you shave when you shave. Right? I bought every kind of crazy electric razor, and none of them were any good. Not one. Not a single one. They don't work. I mean, they work, but they're not good. So I really think if you use a safety razor and you use the right prep for the shaving, and a good shaving soap, which is dirt cheap. You can get a big hunk of it in a tub that probably lasts you 3 to 6 months for, I don't know, $6 or something, you know. Where you start with the cans of the shaving cream, the foam, it's expensive and it's not any good. It doesn't do much good. The difference between shaving with the shaving foam that comes out under pressure from a can and just using hand bar soap is you don't notice the difference. But when you use the shaving cream, it's better than the regular soap. So, yeah, so, you know, today I think a lot of the world uses electric razors and, you know, with power out. And I'm not really sure power is going to be out. The ships of Tarshish, it says the people are going to be leaving on the ships of Tarshish in the next great Exodus. So there's the ships, right? So I believe the Lord showed me this the other day. So, okay. Ships have motors and fuel and they run with power. They burn diesel. Now, a great big cruise ship will burn a gallon every 5 feet. Imagine that. And when they tank these ships up, you know the trucks that fill gas stations up, those things? Oh, they'll put, 4 or 5 of those inside a cruise ship to fill it up. Or maybe not that many, it depends on the ship, maybe more. So, if the ships are going to go from America to Israel, in my opinion, they're going to probably have to tank up to make it back. And I think this is going to be lots of runs back and forth. And if you don't have power, how are you going to get the gasoline, the diesel into the ship? You've got to put it in the truck somehow, so it doesn't sound to me like the electricity is going to be out, but it could be, and in areas or partially. But anyway, I wanted to gear up for. I don't think I'll be using my beard in the future. Hint. I won't be having it, and I think that. I don't want to cast an image unlike what I am. Some of you know what I'm talking about, the ultra-Orthodox. So, when the boots hit the ground, I think the beard's going to be gone. I'm quite certain, so I'm getting ready. So I want to have it set up, so I can take care of it correctly, and I'm a little bit fanatical about it. I don't like getting cut, and I like getting it close shaved, and I don't like getting irritated and dried skin. But that's what I'm going to go for. So now I'm trying to find another Rolls razor. But I got to get it from Europe. I can't get it from America because it might not get here in time. So that's what I'm doing. I have a hair clipper. I gotta keep forcing myself to remember to cut my hair. Every time I get in the shower, I say, "Oh, I forgot to cut my hair again." I gotta charge the clipper, and then I do it. And the funny thing, it only takes 3 minutes to do it. It's over, So, Iran is trying to open a second front in Syria, and Israel is not about to let that happen. Now, Iran can bring weapons in tediously by going into Iraq and then into Syria. But that's dangerous because they have to move the stuff in a convoy. And it's easy to take it out, Israel can take it out how many different ways? 1 million. Basically, stealth aircraft shooting missiles and rockets. Plus, Syria has trouble. They have militias in Syria that hate Bashar Assad, the ruler of Syria, and they fight against him. So if these weapons are coming in a convoy on the ground, these militias might be able to hijack the convoy and arm themselves very well and attack Bashar Assad. Maybe they make Damascus a Ruinous heap. We don't know who does it. And I think the Americans and the Israelis and probably other countries would respond very positively to helping these militia groups that hate Iran and attack the Iranian-backed militias that attack American bases. They might very well help them attack these convoys and get the weapons. So that would mean Iran would have to send, if they were going to send a convoy, let's just say 100 trucks, then Iran would have to send what with them to protect them? Tanks? Yeah. Can't use tanks, they don't travel on the highways, they chop them up. So if they put troops in trucks or regular transports, they'd just get taken out by the militia. If they put them in armored personnel carriers, they just use anti-tank missiles and take those out easily. They're not very resilient. And then they basically take out the protecting soldiers, which might be in the hundreds or something. Iran can't provide any air support. And then they get these great weapons, which they could use on the Iran-backed militias and Bashar Assad. And Russia. They don't like Russia because he backs Assad, so they could attack Russia. So Russia may have told, and Bashar Assad may have told Iran, none of these convoys, don't do it. So thus Iran sends a couple of ships, and Israel sent a very stern warning to them. Now, I don't know how far Netanyahu is going to press it. America's not going to blow up the Iranian cargo ships, and Israel's probably not going to do it either because they're going to kill civilians. But they're probably not going to let it happen again either. It gets interesting if Turkey tries to send missiles and weapons to Lebanon by ship, because they'll put together a nautical convoy of ships with Turkish warships that protect it. But then we don't know how America will respond to Turkey, so I don't see Turkey doing that just yet. Turkey has invaded northeast Syria where the Kurds are to continue his genocide against the Kurds, which the UN doesn't seem to mind at all. Why? I looked at the Kurds' pictures when they were fighting a couple of years ago against Turkey, and you know what? They looked like Israelis to me. The gene pool made them look like Israelis. Why did America have the Great Indian Wars and wipe out the Indians in North America? Most likely they're lost tribes, and Satan knows it. So he wanted them knocked off. So he used the daughter of Babylon in her early years to conduct gruesome wars against the North American Indians, resulting in reservations, the Trail of Tears, all kinds of things like this. To get rid of them. So don't think that Satan doesn't try to get rid of the lost tribes. A lot of people in Taiwan think they're lost tribes. Do I know if they are or they aren't? I don't. I know the word Sinar shows up for the lost tribes, which is Asia, like China, Korea, Taiwan, could be Philippines, and so forth. So they might be lost tribes, and that's why China's gunning for them. Japan could be in there too. So they're gunning for Japan. China wants to use North Korea against South Korea, which means they'll kill each other. And they want to kill Taiwan and draw Japan into it and kill Japan, and the Philippines could be knocked over. It's a joke. Philippines just did a mutual defense treaty with Japan. Japan is not a joke. Japan and South Korea together is far from a joke. Can Japan and South Korea handle China and North Korea together? It would be hard. A lot of death and destruction. China would be able to attack Japan and South Korea homeland using North Korea. But I'm not so sure Japan and South Korea could get any real meaningful attacks in on mainland China. Nor could Taiwan. Taiwan is basically controlled, is trying to just keep control of their land. They are far from having expeditionary forces set up to go 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 miles away and conduct war. They're light years away from that. Japan's not that far away from that. If you remember World War II, I was not alive then, but if you followed it, the Japanese were very good fighters. Very good. They took over the Pacific in the early years after Pearl Harbor took America a good 2 years or more, 2.5 years, to get control of the seas back in the Pacific. They got decimated early on. What America did to save itself is they came up with making these ships called the Tin Can. They made a lot of them around San Francisco and Oakland. They moved a lot of laborers from the South up to California. A lot of these people were black, but I don't know if all of them were, and to work in the shipyards. What they did is they built these destroyers like from pure garbage, okay? They had 1/4-inch thick steel. A lot of the guys, I read books about this years ago, a lot of the guys on these destroyers, the sailors, said they were going to make sure their children never went in the military of America. That's how badly they were treated. These boats had next to no resistance. Mind you, a battleship or an aircraft carrier would have 16 or 18 inches of cold rolled armored steel protecting its sides. These boats had 1/4 inch. As far as I know, they didn't put double or triple hulls on them. They probably compartmentalized them, but they loaded these boats up with every kind of conceivable weapon you could put on a boat. They had torpedo launch capability. They had depth charge capability. They didn't rely on their torpedoes very much. They had probably 50 at least anti-aircraft guns. They put them on the sides of the deck, down 3 or 4 feet from the deck. They had 40 millimeter, anti-aircraft guns, and they had 50 caliber and 20 caliber. They probably had 40, 50 guns around the deck. So it was very dangerous for an enemy fighter jet to fly over there and strafe them with their guns. And it was, again, dangerous for them to drop a bomb, because to drop a bomb, they pretty much had to get just about over the boat. The bomb had a forward trajectory and they had bomb sights, so maybe it could be, 200, 300 feet or so from the boat when they launched the bomb, and then they could pull out, but they would still be taking all kinds of rounds. Now, in World War II, the 50 caliber machine guns in the early years were used a lot. And they're quite potent, and they got a long range over a mile, but they would hit the aircraft and it wouldn't take out the aircraft. If they hit the crew, they'd get killed or wounded. If they hit the engines, which most of these planes, the bigger ones, had 2 or 4 engines, they would be able to fly on 1 or 2 engines, so they could lose engines. It wouldn't exactly knock wings and, stabilizers off. It just made holes through it. So later on in the war, they went to the 20 millimeter, which when you hit a plane with that, it broke up. That was a good gun, but it took a while till they got to those. So these guys on the destroyer had guns. They call them naval rifles, cannons or artillery pieces. They didn't have them to the extent that the battleships did, where they had 16-inch guns that fired a 2,000-pound propellant. I'm sorry, the warhead was 2,000 pounds of explosive. The guns they had were mostly 5-inch and 8 or 9-inch guns, which were pretty deadly. You had a pretty long range, but they had a lot of them. They'd have, 6 at least. And they were armed to the teeth, and they were very fast. Even by today's standards, they were fast because they were light. And they put big engines in them. So the guys, when they came against the enemy, they had to kill the enemy before they got killed. Because they couldn't absorb hits. A battleship, an aircraft carrier could absorb getting shelled or strafed. They didn't have much ability to do that. And when you get hit on these ships with artillery or bombs, what happens is fires break out and a lot of the guys get burned alive. It's a gruesome death. It really is. It's a horrific death. So they put these American sailors in a really impossible situation. You got to kill the enemy first or you'll get killed. The problem with this is, let's say the Germans had ships that had guns that could outrange the American destroyer guns. So they could attack the Americans before the Americans came into range to attack them, thus destroy the American ship before it could even get a shot fired accurately at them. And that's how America goes to war, kids. It's rather common knowledge that World War II, that Pearl Harbor was allowed to happen to rally up the Americans to go after the Japanese. And October 7th is a similar matter, in my opinion. So we don't know what's going to happen in Syria, but I could just about guarantee you that Israel's not going to let another front open there. And America has several military bases that are actively staffed, and they've been reinforced with weapons and soldiers in recent weeks in Syria and Iraq. So these missiles will also be used to attack the American bases, and the UK has bases there too. What the UK is going to do with their new leader in government over there, I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you the new Russian president isn't, the difference there is not going to amount to a hill of beans. Quote Humphrey Bogart. It's just another puppet. Khomeini runs the government, and he's a religious leader, and he runs it. Not the president. I mean, the president's got power and he does stuff, but if Khomeini wants to override him, Khomeini's going to override him, and he's going to listen to Khomeini. And if he doesn't listen to Khomeini, he's going to wind up having a helicopter crash, or getting sick, or going to jail, or getting ripped out of office, or who the heck knows what. You can't override Khomeini. Okay? So the peace deal with Gaza looks dead. The conditions Gaza wants are inconsistent with Israel. And Gallant, the Minister of Defense of Israel, said even if there is a ceasefire in Gaza, we're still going to attack Lebanon. Why? Because if they don't attack the Hezbollah in Lebanon, every time something happens in the Middle East, Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, is going to get out publicly and say, if Israel continues to attack Iranian weapons transfers in Syria, we're going to open up a war against them. You see, you can't have that happen. Israel is taking its time, it seems, but they're strategically being very careful and picking off targets, and they're trying to create confusion and bewilderment amongst the Hezbollah by knocking out command centers, weapons facilities, storage facilities, things like this. I don't think it's a very effective approach. It's Netanyahu's method. And it doesn't seem to work. Target assassinations, does that work? Does that ever stop a war? No. It didn't do anything. Did it do anything with Iran? No, it just got him mad. It's Netanyahu flexing his muscles against the other leaders, but it's not effective. It's vindictive. It causes the other leaders to live underground, and it wears them down, and all of this. True, but it hasn't proven to do anything good. Hitting command centers and weapons storage facilities has impact. Okay? Now, something leaked out in Israel that was profound. The Shin Bet is, what is Shin Bet? How do I describe it to you? We have the police, and then the next level up is Shin Bet. Shin Bet doesn't wear uniforms, and they don't run around with marked cars or anything like that. They carry ID. I think they have a little badge and an ID card, or maybe just an ID card, or both. I don't know what it is today. But they're not allowed to show it to people normally. Okay? It's just to show the military, the government, the police. Get out of my way, I'm Shin Bet, I'm working, and this kind of thing. So they carry unusual weapons. They carry micro Uzis, which are little Uzis that there's different flavors. You got 9mm, which is what you want. They have also the 380, which you really want. you can't buy those in Israel. They're full auto. Well, they might have 3-shot burst and full auto, but they got the latest stuff. But they're rough, tough hombres, okay? And they're rather well trained. And they bodyguard the dignitaries of Israel, including Netanyahu. These are very, very well trained, crack, elite, internal police / intelligence forces. Okay, so they are working with military intelligence a lot, and they watch the terrorists and go after terrorists. Okay, these are, you must understand, something like the FBI, but more like in the old days, the FBI had something called the security squad, which I'm sure was eliminated at some point. But it used to be every week the FBI would have meetings with all the other intelligence agencies in the city or the region. Maybe they went out 100 miles. So they would call in, back then it was the Counterintelligence Corps, which is now military intelligence, naval intelligence, Air Force intelligence, Homeland Security type people, and state police, highway patrol troopers, sheriffs, and city police. And they would all come to these meetings with a representative, okay? Now, in some cases, the local police would not go to the meeting. It depended what kind of meeting they were having. A lot of their meetings would, the security clearance that the local police had wouldn't work, so they couldn't come. But they liked hearing from the local police weekly to pick up ideas as to what's going on from the local police. The FBI used to run these training academies for local police, detectives and officers, and it was a thing of honor in a police department to have this big diploma that you graduated the FBI Academy as a local cop. It wasn't the same academy that FBI agents went through. It wasn't even close. I think it was a long thing, 3 months or something, and they taught these classes on an ongoing basis, and they would teach criminal investigation, the forensics, the laboratory side of investigations. They would talk a little bit about federal law. They would talk about tactics like wiretaps, surveillance training, ways to do felony car stops, ways to break into a house or an office or a warehouse, things like this. They would talk about barrier penetration, how to get through door locks, safes. They gave them some weapons training and stuff like that. And what they did do that nobody talked about is they recruited informants. So the FBI agents that would be teaching this thing from their academy and agents would, be cordial and friendly to these guys. Hey, let's go out for a beer after class, Because this wasn't like basic training, probably 5 o'clock, they ended. And you did what you wanted. If you wanted to go have a few beers, howl at the moon, as long as you came to class 8, 9 in the morning the next day, you were fine, right? So they would socialize with these guys, and they would look for somebody they could cultivate into being an informant, and they'd pay them most of the time. So this cop would now be feeding information to the FBI. The information could be about what the other cops are doing, what the mayor's doing, what the budget is like, what kind of equipment they're buying, what the mood is. And they were very interested in civil disturbance riots and stuff like that. Very interested in that. Anti-war efforts, race riots, war rights for blacks, and stuff like this. Very interested in that stuff. So they wanted this information coming directly from the police that had boots on the ground. They didn't want to get it filtered from the department. And that's how they operate. Frequently back then you'd hear stories, somebody would be, joining the FBI. Often it would be a cop, an ex-cop, somebody like that. A guy's a cop, a highway patrolman, he got out of the army, got the job, and then he goes to night school, he gets a degree or something. And then he goes and joins the FBI. Well, a lot of times, after, a month or so at the FBI Academy, he would quit. He would resign. Okay? And he would go back and get, usually he would join his old department back, or he would join a different department. And the FBI most likely had people in that department that would fast track this guy so he would become a captain or a commander, or one of the 5 or 10 top ranking officers in the department. And a lot of times you're talking about departments that run in size from 3,000 to 6,000 or 7,000 guys. And he would get fast tracked up. Normally he would be a safe lot, of course. And he would be fast tracked up, and he would be also working for the FBI with a salary from them. So the FBI would have access to all the computer files in that department through him. Because he would be propelled up so quick, so fast, he would be able to get into any of the records just about. And I'm sure they would have to do various favors for the FBI, like warn them about upcoming raids and stuff, so they could decide if they wanted the raid to happen or not, or whatever. Yeah. That's the old FBI. The new FBI is something different. I don't know what it does. There's, regular FBI that chase criminals, although I think they stopped doing that and they just work on terrorism. And there were other FBI agents that worked on domestic intelligence matters, and those are two completely different characters. The FBI agents chasing prostitutes across state lines, stolen cars against crossing state lines, bad check writers. This type of FBI agent wasn't the same that was working in intelligence matters where they were surveillancing members of embassies, eavesdropping, things like this. They were a horse of another color. Although the guys that were chasing the car thieves and the check writers and the prostitutes, when you take a prostitute and cross state lines, it becomes white slavery under the federal laws, which is serious. So a pimp decides there's a big convention in Las Vegas in March, so he takes his stable of prostitutes from Los Angeles up to Las Vegas and deploys them. Well, that's white slavery. And then the other thing they were really interested in was chasing prostitutes under the guise of white slavery, looking to get the prostitute's book, her address book. In the address book, they'd find her clients. Now, they weren't looking at prostitutes that walked up and down the street at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get a drunk for $10 to have sex with her. Those are drug addicts and stuff. No, they were looking at the prostitutes that are working at golf clubs, tennis clubs, yacht clubs, going to political conventions. And back then, these were the girls that were getting, $200-300, where today they get $4,000 or $5,000, and they go after these girls because they get their address book, and then they know who their customers are, and then comes blackmail and extortion. They easily get the prostitute to work for them. She's not going to jail for what she already did, or in the future she's under their protection. She starts having tricks, sessions with the customers, and there's, recording devices, cameras, different things like that. Then they get blackmail on the customers, which are usually prominent people, and if they ever need to use it, they can use it. And that's why J. Edgar Hoover stayed in power in the FBI for all those years, decades. Because he devoted a good amount of his resources to getting blackmail and extortion material on very important people. So nobody wanted to mess with him. They don't call it the daughter of Babylon for nothing. Okay. So, all eyes on Syria, what happens next? We're just about finished with Rafah, and we will be finished soon. And they're getting scarier and scarier in Rafah, because when we finish, they're going to be facing a military tribunal for war crimes in Israel, which the nations are going to scream bloody murder when this happens. Now, Israel might just expel them out of Gaza forever, but who's going to take them? I don't know. Iran might, Qatar might, I don't know who will take them. Maybe nobody. But some of them are going to go down for the war crimes, and they're going to wind up getting, 20 or 50 years or life in jail. Israel executing them, you're not going to see that. They don't have the guts to do that. And the Hamas and Rafah know that's what's coming next. They're scared. Netanyahu knows this, and that's why he's not taking any ceasefire deals that they're presenting right now. Because he knows as the days progress, they're going to get more desperate. So on that count, he's being smart, believe it or not. I'll be right back. what Hamas is probably waiting for may never happen. And what they're waiting for is for other terrorist groups to flock in the tens of thousands into Lebanon to raise their ranks to 80 or 100,000 and attempt to infiltrate Israel and take hostages from Israel again. It's not going to happen. That's not happening. I don't know if there's any substantial numbers of terrorists going into Lebanon. As far as I could tell, there's not. There's a lot of threats, that's all. Okay? The Houthis will continue attacking ships for sure. They're expanding into the Mediterranean and the Indian Ocean, the Sea of Aden, the Red Sea. They're going further and further out with this, okay? Saudi Arabia got scared and starts coming into the fold with Iran. So they don't want to get their oil refineries attacked. And, you know, Egypt and Cato are not seeing any daylight with the ceasefire. So there's not a single nation in the world that wants to see Israel wipe out Hamas. But God says it'll happen. Okay, but it may not until the year of redemption. So they, you know, this could be a cause of the siege against Israel, because they don't want to see a Muslim state get destroyed. Because how do they sell it to the other Muslims who, you know, we don't fear their God, the God of Israel, right? We don't fear him. You know, we got our own God, and our God is stronger than the God of Israel. And, you know, that plays really good, except look at Hamas. So Hamas, the leaders, of course, are Satan bots, not real Muslims. So they're, you know, acting like they're winning. The whole place is a wreck. There's nothing left of the place. But the other Arab states won't take the Palestinians in because it makes it look like they lost. The Palestinians had to leave Gaza. We lost. They don't want that. So they're still hoping somebody's going to come and bail them out, and I don't think anybody's going to bail them out at all. It's just a question of when they get it. I'm not really optimistic on a ceasefire. There might be some temporary thing put in place that'll get broken or something, but I'm not seeing it. Hamas doesn't have what to fight with offensively. All they could do is try to defend themselves. Every day a bunch of them get killed. Well, there's going to be a point in time where the surrendering is going to start happening again. Hezbollah is a different creature because they could cause a lot of damage in Israel before they get taken out. But I think the Israeli government is getting closer and closer to being able to take them out with minimal damage. But they do seem to be getting off successful attacks at our military bases. So Israel might be waiting on attacking them until they can stop the attacks on the military bases in the region. So Iran was obviously trying to back them up in Syria, open up another front for us. And Israel sent a strong message to Iran, it ain't gonna happen. And they'll also try to use them to attack America, our bases in Iraq and Syria, which are quite a few, and the UK. So Netanyahu's thinking that we just got to bear down harder and harder on them, and they'll come to grips with a good ceasefire to save their lives. And that's probably the truth. But I don't think it ends that way. Biblically, I know it ends in their destruction, Palestinians' destruction. Gaza is Philistine or Palestine. It belongs to Israel. There's no place for them there. That's God's opinion, and they get it. Lebanon gets it, Iran gets it, Syria gets it, Iraq gets it. They're all going to get it. All right. We'll get on to a Bible study, but let me check the chat. Somebody wants prayer for an OET test results. The screen name is Ruhi. ROOHI wants prayer for OET test results. I have no idea what those are, but we could pray for that. Well, right now the time is 11:29 in the morning. Okay. Hang on a second, guys. Gotta do something real quick. Hang on a second. One of the couriers is bothering me about. All right. All right. So I want to go through some scriptures, and I want to continue more about the churches. So I don't think we're finished yet, but today we might be. I don't know yet. Okay. Before I start, I want to tell you that there's a lot of people that are confused about Daniel 9:24 to 27. And I've covered many times with you that it doesn't say 70 weeks, it says 70 70s. There's two 70-year periods. One was the Babylonian captivity, and the second one will start at the year of redemption, which starts with the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man. You can read about this in Zechariah 12:10 and read it with John 6, verse 40. It says 70, 72, 70-year periods are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. So it's the Israelites in Jerusalem to finish the transgression, make an end of sins, make reconciliation for iniquity, and bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the anointed prince shall be, and then it says 7 weeks, which is, and then 3 score. They don't have the timing right, but my point here is I'm saying that a commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the anointed prince, it's not Yeshua. He's the king of Israel, the son of God, firstborn. He's not the anointed prince. The anointed prince appears in the next temple. Specifically, you read about him in Ezekiel chapter 45. Okay? And whoever you want to call the anointed prince, when was there ever going forth a commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto this person? Are you going to tell me that when Yeshua was on earth, they restored and built Jerusalem unto Yeshua? What have you been drinking? They killed him. And it says, and the street shall be built again. That never happened when Yeshua was there. And the wall, even in troublous times. I told you we'd be fighting during the after redemption and so forth. And after 62 weeks shall the anointed be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Well, that's great, except it doesn't really say destroy, it's defile or corrupt. The temple doesn't get destroyed. Okay, so they've got all this all screwed up, all right? So don't buy into it. They will buy into it all the time, but it's not for you to buy into this, okay? It's nonsense. It's church logic nonsense, okay? Let's go through the seeds, not the tares and the wheat, the seeds in Matthew 13, starting in verse 3. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow, planting seeds. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. So the seeds were not falling in the right place, and the fowls means the demons. But we'll deal with that. Some fell upon stony places, whereupon they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no depthness of earth. These are the ones that, they hear the truth and they get gung-ho and they're on fire for 2 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, and then they're gone. You never hear from them again. I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen that. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns surrounded and choked them. Well, these are the bad people in one's life, false believers, whatever. But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Well, not everybody's going to be able to hear or understand it. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom. Well, the mysteries. Knowledge, which is like an initiation or a secret initiation or something into it, okay? So it has a connotation of secrecy, initiation, okay? Because it is given unto you to know the mystery of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not from him shall be taken away, even that which he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And I'm not going to focus a whole lot on the Jews on this. I'm going to focus more on the church, because that's what concerns you, but it does apply to the Jews. But it's a different plan for the Jews. When they see Yeshua, the veil comes off, and then they see him, they hear. And before they see Yeshua, he pours his Spirit out on them. He's not pouring his Spirit out on the people that go to the 2 billion people that go to the various churches. That's not happening. If they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. So that's why you're never going to get them to abide by the true doctrine. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing you shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see, and shall not perceive. This is speaking of the Jews, not the false church per se. It applies to the false church, to the churches, which are all false churches. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. See, this doesn't happen till the 2,000-year punishment of Hosea 6:1 and 2 is complete. So the double punishment gets fulfilled, and it's just about over. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which you see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear, and have not heard them. Hear you therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he that receiveth seed by the wayside. 2 Corinthians 11:4. They have another Jesus, they have another gospel, and they receive another spirit, an unclean spirit, and this is that unclean spirit. Okay? Catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. The true gospel is taken away. How do they get those demons? Well, when they become a member of the church, for instance, they have a little celebration and they go up there in front of the body, and they usually sit down, and one of the stooges, the Satan bots in the church, comes up and lays hands on them and passes the unclean spirit into them, because it's a sin for them to become a member of the church, and they're giving place to the devil. But he that receiveth seed unto stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it, yet hath not root in himself. So he doesn't even know what he's about, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. So this is one that, oh, the rapture's on the last day when there are no more days. I got it. And then he starts telling people there's no pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib rapture, no left behind rapture, no amillennial. And then he starts getting shunned. And then what am I going to do on Sunday? I have no place to go. So he gets offended. And he gets offended at the true gospel. And he doesn't want to give up family and friends and church life. So he stays with the church. He rejects knowledge, and he gets rejected. He hath not rooted himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. That's not the tribulation. It's a tribulation because pastor sits down with him and says, well, we're all pre-trib here. What's up with that? Maybe you better find another church. No, I like it here. I won't talk about it anymore. Pre-trib it is, pastor. Okay, then we're going to watch you closely, but you know, if that's how you feel, it's fine with us, you know. So he won't tolerate the slightest persecution, which is not spilling of blood, is being rejected by friends and family and the church. He also that receiveth seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. So the deceivableness, the deceitfulness of riches, this is the one that's not going to give offerings. You hear this all the time here. 90% of the subscribers and the people that come often, they don't give offerings. We'll cover that more later on today, but money is very important to these people. They can't imagine that but he that receiveth seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bring forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. And you know, this is consistent. You know, faith without works is dead. Matthew 13:24, another parable put forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, the enemy came. No, we've covered that many times, so we'll just skip through that one. What it's saying there, it says, but he said, nay, lest while you gather the tares you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, gather together first the tares, so the bad ones get taken out first, and bind them in bundles to burn them. But gather the wheat into my barn. The wheat is the believers that bear good fruit, and the barn is Israel, the next great Exodus. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. So the word of God grows this mustard tree, and the birds are the demons that come and, land in there. That's like the churches. They hang around in the churches. Another parable spake he unto them, the kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened. The leaven is the Holy Spirit, basically the leaven works its way, is in a person and works its way through the person until the person is completely committed to Yeshua and Jehovah. Okay? And that's it working its way through it. What were the three measures of kneeling? Father, God Jehovah, Yeshua HaMashiach, and the Ruach HaKodesh, I guess. All these things spake Yeshua unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Then Yeshua sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He that sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. I'll just skip read it, The field's the world, and it's the cosmos, I believe, the whole world. It's not the land of Israel. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one, the children of the devil. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age. It doesn't say world, the end of the age. And there's two ages, this age and the age to come with everlasting life. And the everlasting life is Zechariah 10:12, the siege, where they see the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, and they get everlasting life. So you read Zechariah 12:10, read John 6:40. Read it yourself. The harvest is the end of the world, and that's your next great Exodus. The reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this age. Well, we're right there. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity. Iniquity, lawlessness. What does the church preach? The law is dead. What do the rabbis preach? Oh, we don't follow Moses' law. That was for the Goyim. We follow the oral law that Moses gave to the rabbis that we wrote down, called the Talmud. Well, that's bogus too. And them which do iniquity. Well, the church does iniquity, lawlessness. They teach the law is dead. And shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth in the furnace of fire. Then shall the righteous shine forth. Now, when you read the parable, we did it yesterday, it was Lazarus, the beggar, and the rich man. He says to Father Abraham, send Lazarus over here, dip his finger in water, and put it on my tongue because of this fire here. That's the pit, that's not the lake of fire. It's bad. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. And you read that in Isaiah 1. Arise, shine, or emanate light, Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. The earth is covered with darkness, great darkness. Okay. Then shall the righteous shine as the sun. When you see him, you shall be like him. 1 John 3:2. And what do what do you see in Malachi 4, verses 1 and 2? Oh, and 3. The righteous shall shine as the sun. When you see him, you'll be like him. Malachi 4. The Shemesh, the son of righteousness, shall arise with healing in his extremities. When you see him, you shall be like him. You will shine like Yeshua. In the kingdom of their Father, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hid in a field, the which, when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he have, and buyeth that field, because he wants that treasure. So when the people find out about eternity, everlasting life, and spiritual life, and not being able to die, and New Jerusalem, and everything like that, everything else becomes secondary. Mammon is out the window. It's gone. Covetousness is gone. One big sign of this is the people here with the covetousness. They repeatedly come back and get fed, and they don't give offerings. Now, when you talk to them like typical church people, even though they may not be church, they're going to give you good excuses why they can't give or don't want to give. And they're very good at rationalizing. Oh, he's a money-grubbing preacher, let him get a job. Oh, he's like Copeland or Swaggart, or, it's a joke. They just don't want to give. They want to take and not give because they're not really believers. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking goodly pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Don't forget that the pearl, New Jerusalem, 12 gates, each one named after one of the tribes of Israel. So, of course, you were incorporated into one of the tribes as per Ezekiel 47, the last 3 verses. But the gates are made out of a giant pearl. Here he's talking about a pearl. Do you see the connection? It's not an accident. Getting into New Jerusalem. One pearl of great price. Well, you got to pay a great price to get into New Jerusalem. Went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea. The waters represents peoples, and gathered of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to shore, and sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. so shall it be at the end of the age, which we're days away from. The angel shall come forth and sever the wicked from amongst the just. So the net, when it's full, they drew to shore. Well, the net's almost full. Any day now it'll be full. The end of the age. And then they draw it to shore. They sit down and gather the good into vessels. Those go to the barn to Israel in the next great Exodus. But the rest get cast the bad away. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just, the false believers, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So shall it be at the end of the age. The angel shall come forth, sever the wicked from among the just. So, contrary to church teachings of the rapture where the good ones get taken out first, Yeshua's teaching here that the bad ones are removed first and they go to a bad place. And shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Yeshua saith unto them, Have you understood all these things? They say unto him, Yea, Lord. Then said he unto them, Therefore, every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and old, things from the Bible, the Old and the New Testament, And it came to pass that when Yeshua had finished these parables, he departed thence. And when he was come unto his own country, he taught them in their synagogues, insomuch that they were astonished. They said, Whence hath this man wisdom and these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, well, it's really Miriam, and his brethren James and Yossi and Simon and Judas, and his sisters, are they not all with us? Whence then hath this man all these things? And they were offended in him. But Yeshua said unto them, a prophet is without honor, save in his own country and in his own house. So the prophet's not honored in his own house. So, when they're comparing Yeshua, who is this guy, the carpenter's son? That's like comparing somebody like me or some other preacher with the true gospel, if you could find another one. Hey, where's your big church? Where's your denomination? What signs of the world do you have in your, they don't want that. They want a big building. And when he was in his own country, he taught them in their synagogues, in so much that they are astonished, and said, whence hath this man this wisdom and mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son, and so forth? Okay. But Yeshua said to them, a prophet is without honor, is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house. So the very people of Yeshua killed him. And he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief. See, today they don't understand. Non-elect are never going to get it. Even when they see it happening, they're not going to get it. They're going to be taken away like Noah's flood, or like in Sodom and Gomorrah, and they're not going to believe it until it happens, and then it's too late. And they won't understand what happened to them either. When you try to explain the truth to them, they don't see it. They can't see it. They're not going to get it. They close their eyes. They have another spirit, 2 Corinthians 11:4, an unclean spirit. They picked this up in the church, like I said. The church supplies or provides a vehicle for them so they can lie to themselves when they see the inconsistencies and believe they are saved because so many people behave like them in the churches, and they got these big buildings and organizations. How would God let that happen if it wasn't his? You see, that's what they don't understand. None of them do. The mysteries of the kingdom, they don't get it. Some of them actually receive Yeshua, but they reject him because they realize that they're going to be ostracized from their friends, their family, and the church life if they follow the true gospel, and they're not going to follow it. Yeshua's not that worth that much to them. They're in the world and of the world, and the life in this world is most important to them. Verse 22, Matthew 13:22. He also that received the seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. This is the covetousness, which is mammon, which is the root of all evil, and we see this here with these people. Okay? And you're going to get from them, and it's okay. I muzzle the ox when he treadeth the grain. That's fine. This guy's like Copeland. You know, that's not the gospel, but they're not the elect either. So they don't get it. And don't expect them to get it, because they're not going to get it. They ain't going to get it. Okay, where am I? See, in the book of Acts, the early congregations were selling their real estate and their assets and giving to each other. They had all things in common. And then you read a scripture in another place, they went out from among you because they're not of you. You see, this giving and the sharing drives them away, because they're definitely not going to do that. The other believers don't mean much to them at all. They're just in it for themselves, and they're not going to pay that kind of a price. To them, giving up the carnal goods for the spiritual goods doesn't compute because they really only have carnal goods. They fool themselves into thinking they have spiritual goods. And they don't put pressure on them in the church to give to others. They give or they don't give. They kind of leave them alone. They don't want to run them off. They might find God and get saved. They just leave them there. If they make trouble and disruption, then they deal with it. They just witchcraft them and sorcery them to start giving offerings. So when the giving sets in congregations for real, they'll run away because they're not going to give. And there's Satan bots some of the time. And Satan bots are not allowed to give to help you. That's against their religion. If there was a congregation today and we were meeting the needs of others, they would leave the congregation before they gave the money. They just won't give money. They're covetousness, they're serving mammon. Money's the most important thing to them. They'll verbalize it otherwise, but remember what I keep telling you. Don't just look at their actions with anybody, whoever you're dealing with. Don't just look at their words, look at their actions. Their actions speak true. They also don't speak spiritual warfare. They don't teach spiritual warfare in these churches either, do they? You see, giving is a sign of good fruit. You want to further the gospel. You want to follow the scriptures. It's good fruit. Not giving is bad fruit. Bad fruit comes from a bad tree. That's what these people are. So the tares are the children of the devil. They receive and accept another gospel and another spirit and another Jesus. That's what they are. They're not of God. And the outside of their cup looks clean. That's why you need the angels to see, so to speak, the inside of the cup so they know who's who. Verse 41 says, gather out of his kingdom those things that offend. The word for offend really has a connotation of a narrow trap or something like the sticks of a snare that make a snare. Because that's what they are. They're a snare for people. See, these church guys got TV stations, big buildings, ministries, baby ministry, children ministries, summer camps, schools, TV cameras, and how could they be wrong? How could God have all this if they're not the truth? You see, they don't understand anything. So they look at you without much of anything, like they looked at Yeshua, who didn't even have a place to put his head down. And they were, well, what are you? Nobody. Let's take a look at Mammon in Luke. I think it's 15, 10 to 17. It might be 16. Let's see. It's 16. Luke 16, I think. Verse 10. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. So the Lord tests you when you have little, which is what most of you have. If therefore you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, you have not been faithful in unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? See, those are the covetous ones that don't share, like Ananias and Sapphira held the money back. They don't want to be in a congregation to meet the needs of the other people. They want to run away. They don't want to give offerings to those giving of the spiritual things. They don't want to give up their carnal things because their carnal things mean more to them than the spiritual things, thus churchianity. The people in the churches don't really have a spiritual life as we know it. They don't have the Holy Spirit. They don't walk right. So, unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? And if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, I believe this is adultery, who shall give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. And the Pharisees also were covetous, heard all these things, and they derided him. And he said unto them, you are they which justify yourselves before men. But God knoweth your hearts. For that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God. Rolls Royces, yachts, the mansions, because of the way they get them. You'll have nice things. so much you'll be in shock over it. Soon, days away. But you got it. It's of God. It's not of the world. It comes differently to you. It's altogether different. It's what they do to get these things that's such an abomination. You're not going to get these things unless you commit the abominations and go whoring with the unclean spirits. The law and the prophets were until John. Since that time, the kingdom of God is preached, and every man presses into it. Many are called, but few are chosen. Broad and wide is the road to destruction, and few find it. And many find it, but straight and narrow is the real path, and few be that find it. And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fail. Whosoever putteth away his wife and marrieth another committeth adultery. And whoso committeth and let's go to 1 Timothy 6, verse 10. First Timothy 6. But thou, O man of God, flee these things and follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, meekness. Fight the good fight of faith, lay hold on eternal life, whereunto thou art also called, and hast professed a good profession before many witnesses. Okay. But the previous verse, of 1 Timothy 6:7, for we brought nothing into this world, and is certain we can carry nothing out, and having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after they have erred from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. You see, when you get rich, I was wealthy for years, not super rich, but I had the Satan bots gunning for me all over. They knew me, and I lived in a city of over 100,000. They knew me. I mean, I was a target. I was constantly engaging in spiritual warfare. It was horrible. I mean, people would come after me they had no right to, and, legally, it was just terrible. It was an ongoing war to keep my credit file clean. People were coming after me with absurd, illegal things that would hurt my credit. I mean, it was nuts. I had something put on my credit file that said I owed somebody money. I never knew the person. It was a doctor. I called them up. I said, "What are you doing?" They said, "Wait, let's check." Then they said, oh, we're sorry, we'll take it off. Well, they could get in a lot of trouble. I could sue them if they don't take it off, so they took it off. But they just did it to get me. All kinds of problems. People just coming after me and that. I was paying a law firm every month money to just fight these idiots that kept clogging up my credit file with nonsense. Take it off and they put it on. It was horrible. You know, reasons like this and other reasons, financial and stuff, I left the United States. I remember what I used to tell people. I used to tell them, look, if you make me get a lawyer and go to court, I will. But I'm telling you right now, I will not stop. If you make me get the lawyer, I will push the lawsuit no matter what it costs to the end, and then go after you for my legal bills, court costs, damages, and everything else. Mark my words, I won't stop. Go ahead, try it. You don't have a leg to stand on. See, the judges don't let them get away with outrageous stuff because that changes the system, and they can't change the system. Okay? They can't do that. I bought an expensive car. It was a turbo Porsche. So I ordered the car. I said to the dealer, could I order? I bought other Porsches and Mercedes and BMWs and stuff from the same place. I said, could I order, this is when I was in the world, could I order this Porsche? Will you order one for me? He says, yeah. And I said, then I pay the window price, because these things were selling at a premium over window price, right? So he says, yeah. So I said, okay. He says, just give me $5,000 down payment, and I'll order it, and we'll call you when it comes in. So I gave him the money. I forgot about it a few months, like 3-4 months later, it comes in. So he calls me up and says, the dealership wants me to give him $5,000 over sticker. I said, you told me it would be sticker price. Well, it's worth more, that's what they want. So I called my lawyer up. With all this crap going on, I had a lawyer, right? So I called the lawyer up, and I said, now this is what they're trying to do. He says, okay. He says, you call them up, and you tell them that I'm your lawyer, this was a big shot lawyer, and that I said they should straighten it out with you, and they'll know what to do. See, now he was an S-bot, and he was telling me that we can't, the rules in the community are you don't fraud the people because it's just bad for everybody in business, right? So they were trying to fraud me because I was a believer they could take advantage of me, right? And I was a believer with money and everybody knew about that. So what happened? So I wound up having such a bad time with them, I gave them an extra $2,000 over the window price just to try to, preserve the relationship. So if I need service or something like that. But they took advantage of me. It just wasn't worth it for me to take it to the mat. What was I going to do if they said, no, we're just going to refuse to give you the car. We're mailing you your $5,000 back. So then I'm going to go get the lawyer and spend, they were a big network of dealers around the country. So I'm going to go spend $25,000-$30,000 to have a fight with them over some stupid car. No, I didn't bother with it. It was just stupid, I moved out of a house, I had an alarm company. The alarm company says, oh, you're canceling your contract. I said, I am not. I signed a contract for 1 year, 3 years ago. There's no contract. He says, oh, it automatically renews if you don't sign a new contract. You can't enforce that. So I said, okay, you're going to say I have an automatic renewed contract, and you want me to pay you monthly fees on a house I no longer live in because of a self-renewing verbal contract. The guy says, yeah. I said, if you try to enforce that or ruin my credit, I will sue you, and I will not stop if you settle after I sue you. Because that's how they do it. They make you spend money on a lawyer. So I said, I know the game. I will not stop. You know, I'm going to tell my lawyer that we're not going to stop. Don't get into this if you want to stop. We want damages. If they want us to stop, we want 5 or 10 grand in damages, or we go to court. You know, you tell that to the lawyer, and the lawyer understands, and you can go to court like that. Lawyers don't like it, but if you're a good customer because people are getting you all the time, you know, I mean, this is what life was like for me. Yeah, I had a lot of money. Anytime I was bored, I go take a trip, take a cruise, buy expensive things. You know, I bought a $5,000 aftershave case once, a Louis Vuitton. I sold it eventually. Well, I need a thing like that for it, but I bought it. You know. You know what I learned about expensive luggage? You can never fly with it internationally, because when you come back into the country, they see the expensive luggage. Automatically, they call you aside and search you. Go through all your luggage. They don't search you. Which, you know, you're not going to smuggle stuff back anyway. Why? Without paying the tax. But who wants to sit there for 45 minutes and get taken apart by these idiots, you know, who got nothing better to do? So you buy good luggage. They make good luggage that doesn't look expensive, and that's what you buy. You know, and you can't take that luggage on airplanes anyway, because then people try to steal the luggage. I bought a whole bunch of Louis Vuitton stuff. You can't use it. The only time you can use it is when you take a car trip. Well, what's the good of that? I mean, you know, is it really good luggage? Yeah, but it's not worth it. It's stupid. You know, if you want people to look at you, it's good luggage, you know. Well, I learned a lot of stuff with money. I learned a lot of stuff. And you're constantly under the gun, because there's a heck of a lot more S-bots than you, and they all go after you because they want a piece of your money or they want to make you miserable. You're a bad witness to Satan, because here you are serving the Lord, having the Holy Spirit, and you got a lot of money and you buy nice, rich things. I got chewed out by a Satan bot in an apartment community I was living in because I bought a new Corvette. You know, the message was, who are you to run around buying a car like that? You're nobody. I was laughing inside at these people. You know? Laughing at them. They hated it, you know? They couldn't stand it. I used to think it was funny. It was, but it was time consuming. If I did it all over again, I don't think I'd buy all these crazy things. I'd buy nice, good, reliable things. You know, I had good furniture. That was intelligent. You know, I bought nice, good, solid, all wood furniture. That was a good thing to do. That was smart, you know. So I did buy some good stuff. I made good investments too, but I was, you know, getting taken into this, and it's, you know, it just weighs you down. I mean, it's a waste of your energy in life to have to deal with these petty Satan bots that keep going after you, and then you're constantly doing spiritual warfare against all kinds of different people, you know. It's kind of a waste of time. You know, had so many issues from that, it wasn't even funny. You know, I had a phone call, when was it? Last night? Yeah, last night. I get a phone call on my Skype, which is not a phone number that I really, you know, use. And a guy calls up, it rings, and I answered the Skype. I said, yes, because a lot of times it could be somebody from the ministry that I know, one of the subscribers or something. So I said, yes, nothing. So I said yes, and then I get hello. So, the delay tells me that's what the Satan bot telemarketers do. They wait for you to say hello, 2 John verse 9 to 11, which is giving them a greeting. You're a partaker in your evil deeds, then you're giving place to the devil, and they start the witchcraft on you. So I just say yes, that doesn't work. That's not a greeting. And guy goes, yeah, I'm from Amazon. I said, yeah, right. What do you want? So he says, well, at 4:15 p.m., purchase was made for $1,500, and we want to know if something about that. So I said there was no such purpose. I hung up on the guy. Never addressed me by name, didn't call on the correct phone number, no email, it's a joke, But the point is, he was trying to get me to say hello. And then it was probably some ploy to have me give him access to the Amazon account, and there was somebody right there listening. As soon as he got access to the Amazon account, the telemarketing guy would keep me on the phone while the other one immediately went and made some purchases and probably buy some gift cards, and then take the gift cards and make gifts to another, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe he was trying to get credit card information. I don't know. It was a criminal, And you could hear in the room, there was a bunch of them. This was a major criminal organization. I don't know what country they were in. They were not American. They were not Israeli. I don't know. It sounded like they could have been from Asia or something. I don't know. But, that's how they work. They get you to say hello. Don't say hello when you answer the phone. I say that sometimes because I look at caller ID and I know who's calling. So I'm not worried about it. But if I don't know who's calling, I try not to say hello. Just say something like, who's this? Or something like yes, or, something like that. Don't give them greetings. That's destructive, Don't want to do that. All right, let me see if we got anything going on in the chat that needs dealing with. We're English speaking here. You call me Santa, I'd block you. You're obviously not serious about being here. Revelation 1, 5, and 6. Okay, what's that? Let's go there. Revelation 1, 5. And from Yeshua HaMashiach, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood, and hath made us kings and priests unto God, and his Father, to him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. We should keep reading. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth, all tribes of the land of Israel, is what it means, shall wail, shall mourn because of him. Even so, amen. That's just a lesson I've been teaching you for ages. Zechariah 12, specifically verse 10, with parts of Matthew 24. Okay, back into the chat. Revelation 5, 8, and 10. Okay. Revelation 5, 8. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 4 and 20 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. And then verse 10. And hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. That's correct. Okay. True, that matches Zechariah 13, 8, and 9. 2/3 get taken out, yes. The 2/3 get taken out pertains to the people in Israel, the Israelites. That's right, it's not the rapture, it's Matthew 13, the tares and the wheat. So I like wearing hats and sunglasses. I use sunglasses because I'm in front of screens all the time, and it helps with the glare. And the hats, I like wearing hats, so. Okay. I don't see any other questions or anything like that coming through, so what can I further tell you? I think I covered my agenda today. So don't be surprised what happens to the church people. They're going to be in a bad way, okay? And they're not of you. Remember that. Sadly, a lot of you have friends and family in the churches, and that's a shame. And it won't come out. And I know a lot of you. They're not coming out. I don't think. Maybe at the very end, I don't know, but at the very end stays away. See, the covetous, the mammon people, they still hold on to their money, and they don't fully receive the truth of prophecy. They make believe they do. They come here and they act like couch potato prophecy students, and they listen to me. But if they believed it, they would realize their money is going to be worthless in days. Jeremiah 30:11, he's going to destroy all the nations he's sent the Israelites into over time. That's 125 countries. The daughter of Babylon's going to go. Iran's going to go. What do you think? Russia's going to do okay? You know, they're all going to go. Their economies are going to be gone. Their money's going to be pointless, worthless, not worth anything. So they don't really believe the prophecies. They just think they do. They won't act on them because they don't believe it. They won't believe it. Okay. All right, so I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife, Rivka, for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our finances. Pray we get to the bottom of how to make the solar work, if it'll work. Please pray I get that big heavy fan operating in the house. And Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. And pray I could get a good solution on these razors that I'm looking for. In the back of my mind, I think maybe I should get a straight razor and learn how to use it. Because I could sharpen things really good. I could sharpen a razor like a scalpel. I know what I'm doing and I have sharpeners. But I don't know, maybe that's what I should get. That might be the solution. Just get a leather strap with one of those. I don't know. Pray I get the right answer. It's a little better than the safety razor, you know, the one with the double-edged blades. So in San Francisco, there's a lot of men in San Francisco that are very conscientious about their appearance. And a lot of people can get shaved with a straight razor with the hot compress towel and the right pre-shave and all this kind of stuff. And that'll keep 2, 3, maybe even 4 days on some people, probably 2 days on anybody. And you know what they charge for this? Like $100. So these are people that have a lot of money. So I don't know if they go, 2 or 3 times a week to get a shave like this. But it's a ritual, they go in there, they sit down in the chair, they recline them, they make the towels, they put it there, and they lather them up, and they put stuff on before. They probably got 2 or 3 things they put on before. You don't need it. And then they do the shave, and then they probably put after treatments on, and by the time it's finished, it's probably 30 minutes, And they walk out of there, and their face is super smooth, and they don't have any nicks and cuts, and it smells good. And maybe they get a hair trim with it for that price. I don't know, And this must go on in other cities, in Beverly Hills and things like that, But there are people that shave themselves with these razors. I have knives that I can sharpen, straight knives, hunting knives, that I could get sharp. It pops the hair off your arm. Easily I could sharpen a knife like that. And they could shave with those, but they're big. You have to hold the back of the blade, not a handle, If they're not agile, you're not going to be able to maneuver the thing, It's funny, But people used to shave like that, like soldiers that knew what they were doing and could take a bayonet or a military knife. And, some of those knives are you can really sharpen. And they sharpen the thing up and take some soap and lather up with hot water. They take a helmet and boil water or something, put it in there, get their face with the hot water, put the soap on, and start shaving with the knife. I tried it years ago, and yeah, you can actually get the stuff off, but it's coarse. You see, the straight razor is close to a scalpel, but the shape of the blade is different. The scalpel is flat. Scalpel's a 12-degree angle. You don't ever want to sharpen a fighting knife like a scalpel because it'll dull. You want to get it between 15 and 16, 17% angle, something like that. You don't want it like that sharp. If it pops hair off your arm, that's as sharp as you ever want to get it. You don't need it any sharper than that. Scalpels are funny things. Going back 30, 40 years, today the scalpels have a scalpel handle, and they put a scalpel blade in there that after the surgery is thrown away, and then they sterilize the handle. So it's like the new barber razors. You have a disposable blade, and that's because the barbershops are no longer allowed to use the regular barber's razor that they put on the strop, and they'd use the same thing all week long on, 20, 30 different people. So a disease could be spread with that. Because to sufficiently get that clean, according to medical, what they would have to do is soak it in a quaternary disinfectant for probably a few hours, 3 or 4 hours. And that would clean the razor enough so they could wash it down with some sort of sponge and soap and water and clean all the material off of there. And it would have to be cleaned out from inside too, where the blade closes, and get it all washed up like that. Then they'd have to wrap it after everything was super clean from washing it with soap and water. Then they would have to put it inside special surgical paper and tape it closed, and then put it in an autoclave or a sterilizer for about 40 minutes. That brings it with steam to a very, very high temperature and sustains it. And then they take it out and they keep it sealed in the paper till they use it. That's how they do surgical tools. And that's what would have to happen. But with the blade, after they finish shaving a person, they pop the blade out, and they probably have to have a container made out of plastic for sharps, like syringes, and they put the blade in there, and then they just wash the holder up, and they put a new blade in, which is clean and has no, no blood material or flesh or something from another person. So somebody could have barber's itch or some skin disease, and you're going to get it. If you nick the person and you get the blood on the blade, then the next guy comes in and you nick him with the other one's blood, you could spread diseases. So they can't use the old barber's razors, like when I was a kid, they used to trim the sideburns with that and stuff. So you got to use a throwaway blade, and I don't think they're as good. They're like a safety razor, except they're longer. They're not the same thing as the barber's razor that's got a curve and a funny edge on it. It's a different animal altogether. I'll have to see if I could figure out how to use one of those things. That might be a better answer. Because you could use it for 20 years. If you get a good one. Made out of Soligen steel or something like that. I might want to get one of those instead. I don't know. So anyway, pray for us, pray for good health. Pray for our birds and dogs, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. And when the Lord tells me we're at the end of the line on these church studies, we're at the end of the line. I didn't expect to be covering more of it today, but it was good. We went through Matthew 13. It was good, and that's what Yeshua was talking about, and Mammon. It was a good study, and so it's good, And I don't know what's going to be tomorrow. I usually, once in a great while, I find out the day before, but usually in the morning. Usually he lets me rest after I finish the live stream. That's it for the day. I was up about 5:30, and it's 1 o'clock, so that's the day's work, guys. That's it. When I get up, I start working. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I am out.